Hi everyone. Now we are going to learn the passive voice. Actually, before learning the passive voice, you must have a clear understanding on the active voice. That means you must have a clear understanding on the tenses. Then after it is very easier to change the, the active voice sentences into the passive. Now let's take some examples and change actually active voice sentences and change those active voice sentences into the passive voice. There you must follow 3 steps. So students, let's practice to follow those 3 steps with the examples. Okay students, this is your first active voice sentence. There, to change this into the passive form, the first step is to identify the subject verb object, and by looking at the verb, we must also identify the tense. Now we have named the subject, verb and the object, and this is the verb, and verb root is used with the plural subject. බහුවචනයක් එක්ක verb root එක ක්‍රියාමූලයක් පාවිච්චි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. So the tense is simple present tense. We are talking about the positive sentences. අපි අත්‍යනාර්ථ වාක්‍යයි තාම කතා කරන්නේ. පළවෙනි ස්ටෙප් එක විදිහට subject verb object අඳුරගත්තා. verb එක අනුව අපි tense එක අඳුරගත්තා. Now our second step is to put this object in the place of the subject. මේ object එක subject එකේ තැනට තියන්න ඕනේ. And this subject must be taken to the back, to the place of the object. මේ subject එක ගන්න ඕනේ object එක තිබිච්ච තැනට. And this subject must be joined to the passive voice sentence with the word by. මේ subject එක passive voice sentence එකට එකතු කරන්න වෙන්නේ by කියන word එකත් එක්ක. Object to the subject's place and the subject to the object's place. Now our third step is to form this passive verb. අපේ තුන්වෙනි ස්ටෙප් එක තමයි passive verb එක ගොඩනගා ගන්න එක. Passive verb includes this helping verb and the past participle. අපිට passive verb එක හදා ගන්නකොට helping verb එක අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා time එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් aspect එක. කාලය හෝ ස්වරූපය පෙන්වන්න. එවැගේම past participle අනිවාර්යයි passive sentence එකකදී. Now, because this belongs to this present tense එකට නිසා ඇතුළත් වෙන්නේ the helping verbs are am, is or are. ආධාරක ක්‍රියාපද වෙන්නේ am, is, එහෙමත් නැත්නම් are. The correct helping verb must be selected according to this new subject. නිවැරදි helping verb එක අපිට තෝරගන්න වෙන්නේ මේ අලුත් subject එකට අනුව. Croplands, that is in plural. ඒක බහුවචනෙන් තියෙන්නේ. So we must use the helping verb are. And then the past participle of this main verb. Are destroyed. Now let's look at the meanings. Elephants destroy croplands. That is the active voice sentence. අලීන් විනාශ කරනවා වගා භූමි. The passive voice is croplands are destroyed by elephants. වගා භූමි විනාශ කෙරෙනවා අලීන් විසින්. Now let's look at another tense. First, as the first step, you must identify the subject, verb and the object, and by looking at this verb, you must identify the tense. Am is are plus the present participle or the ing form. Am is ආත් එක්ක ing form එක. වර්තමාන අසම්පූර්ණ ක්‍රියාව අපි present participle එක කියලා කියන්නේ. මේක භාවිතා වෙන්නේ present continuous tense එකේදී. We are still talking about the positive sentences. The present continuous tense. We identified the tense by looking at this verb. Now our second step is to change the places of the object and the subject. Object comes to the front, that means the place of the subject, and subject goes back to the place of the object. There, this subject or our new object must be added to this passive sentence using the word by. අපි by phrase එක කියලා කියනවා. මේ subject in a passive voice sentence, the subject is not important. Passive voice sentence එක subject වැදගත් නෑ. ඒ නිසා අපිට මේ by phrase එකම omit කරන්න, අතෑරලා දාන්න පුළුවන්. අපි concern කරන්නේ, අපි සැලකිල්ල යොමු කරන්නේ මේ action එකට, එහෙමත් නැත්නම් object එකට. subject අපිට වැදගත් නැහැ. Now our third step is to build up the passive verb. So by looking at this active sentence, you can identify the type of the helping verb. Active voice sentence එක බලලා helping verb එක මොන වගේද කියලා ඔයාට තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන්. Am, is, are. මේ helping verbs represent කරන්නේ time එක, කාලය, present බව. And then we must take the past participle of the main verb. Main verb එකේ past participle එක ගන්නත් ඕනේ. Am, is, or are with the past participle. Right. Now this new subject is in the singular form. So the helping verb must be is. And preparing becomes prepared. Now students, compare this present continuous passive sentence with the simple present passive sentence. these two passive sentences. Am is a be verb as the helping verb and past participle as to indicate that it is in passive. Both the passive verbs have the similar pattern. සමාන pattern එකක් තියෙන්නේ මේ අවස්ථා දෙකේදීම. But there should be a difference. අපිට වෙනසක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ because these are two different tenses. කාල දෙකක්. So what should be the difference? Because this is continuous, the continuous aspect is there. So to show that aspect, we must put another helping verb. මේ continuous කියන aspect එක ස්වරූපය පෙන්වන්න අපි තවත් helping verb එකක් add කරන්න වෙනවා. continuous form එක හදාගන්නේ am isත් එක්ක ing form එක. එහෙනම් ing form එකයි අපේ මෙතන නැත්තේ. එහෙනම් අපිට උදව්වට ඉන්නේ the be verbs. be verbs වල present participle එක වෙන්නේ being. being. So to show the continuous aspect, we use being for continuous tenses. Continuous tenses වලදී අපිට being being අත්‍යවශ්‍ය helping verb එකක් වෙනවා. Now look at the meanings. Active voice, the mother is preparing tea. අම්මා තේ සාදමින් පිළියෙල කරමින් ඉන්නවා. The passive voice, tea is being prepared by the mother. තේ අම්මා විසින් සෑදෙමින් තියෙනවා. Now look at this sentence. Here also, as the first step to change this active sentence into passive, we must identify the subject, verb and the object. Then we must look at this verb and identify the tense. Has plus past participle. Has or have and past participle represents the present perfect tense. Has hari have hari ekka past participle කියන්නේ present perfect tense. We are still discussing the positive sentence structures. After identifying the tense, we must take as the second step, we must take this object to the front, this place of the subject, and subject to the back to the place of this object. There you must use the word by to join this new object to the sentence, to this passive voice sentence. By කියන word එකකින් තමයි join කරන්න වෙන්නේ අපේ අලුත් object එක. So it also can be omitted. ඒක omit කරන්නත් පුළුවන් අපිට passive voice sentence එක වැදගත් නොවන නිසා. Now as the third step, we must build up the passive verb, helping verb plus past participle. So we can take this helping verb from this active voice sentence. Has or have. We have two options with singular has, with plural have. So new rules represent a plural noun. So the helping verb must be have. මේ helping verb එක පෙන්නන්නේ time එක present කියලා කාලය. Then as this is a passive verb, you must use the past participle. Past participle එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ passive බව පෙන්වන්න. time present බව අපි පෙන්නලා තියෙනවා. passive බව අපි past participle use කරලා තියෙනවා. But where is the aspect? ස්වරූපය කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? perfect බව පෙන්වන්නේ has have එක past participle වලින්. එහෙනම් අපිට තව past participle එකක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා aspect එක පෙන්වන්නට, perfect බව පෙන්වන්නට. අපිට ඉන්න helping verb එක වෙන්නේ be double en, the past participle of the verb be. be verb past participle එක been. Now look at the sentences. Active voice. The government has introduced new rules. රජය හඳුන්වා දී තියෙනවා අලුත් නීති. New rules have been introduced by the government. අලුත් නීති හඳුන්වා දෙනු ලැබ තියෙනවා අලුත් government එක, අලුත් රජය විසින්. Remember children, to show the aspect perfect. perfect නම් අපි BEEN been අනිවාර්ය පදයක් විදිහට එකතු කරන්න ඕනේ. Here is another positive active voice sentence. ඇතයන අර්ථ කර්තෘකාරක වාක්‍යයක්. To change this into the passive form, the first step is to identify the subject, verb and the object. And then by looking at this verb, we must identify the tense. The verb is in the past form. So the tense must be the simple past. past form එකේ තියෙන verb එක සරල අතීත වෙන්න ඕනේ tense එක. Okay, now it's time to follow the second step, that is taking this object to the place of the subject and taking this subject to the place of the object using the word by. by කියන word එක අරන් subject එක object එකේ place එකට ගන්නත්, object එක subject එකේ place එකට ගන්නත් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. Now it's time to form the passive verb, helping verb plus past participle. Because this belongs to the simple past tense, the past forms of the be verbs must be taken as the helping verb. Past forms of the be verbs. be verb වල තියෙන past අතීත ආකාරය වෙන්නේ was එහෙමත් නැත්නම් were. So we must select was or were according to this new subject. The activist, ක්‍රියාකාරිකයා, that is in singular form. So you must take the helping verb as was. And because this is a passive sentence, you must put the past participle of this main verb. For simple tenses, සරල tenses වලට සරල වර්තමාන අපි කතා කරා. මේ සරල අතීත එකම එක helping verb එකයි එකතු වෙන්නේ. කාලය අඟවන්න. aspect එක simple. ස්වරූපය සරලයි. ඒකට විශේෂ helping verb එකක් නැහැ continuous සහ perfect වලදී වගේ. Now let's look at the meanings. Active voice, the gunman shot the activist. තුවක්කු කරුවා වෙඩි තැබුවා ක්‍රියාකාරිකයාට. The activist was shot by the gunman. ක්‍රියාකාරිකයාට වෙඩි තබනු ලැබුවා තුවක්කු කරුවා විසින්. The simple past tense. Here is another active voice sentence. To change this into passive, as the first step you must identify the subject, verb and the object. Then, according to the word, you must decide the tense. Was or were plus the present participle. Was hari were hari එක present participle. එහෙම නැත්නම් ing form එක අදාළ වෙන්නේ past continuous tense වලට. අතීතයේ සිදුවෙමින් පැවතුන ක්‍රියා. Now, as your second step, object to the front and subject to the place of the object. There, the phrase the teacher must be added to the passive voice sentence using the word by, or else we can omit this phrase. දුවව අපිට by phrase එකම omit කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. එයා important නැහැ කියලා හිතලා. Now, as a third step, let's form the passive verb. Time is a past time, so we can use the helping verbs was or were. A grammar lesson represents a singular noun, so the helping verb must be was. Singular noun එකක් නිසා helping verb එක was වෙන්න ඕනේ. Because this is in the passive form, you must put the past participle of the main verb. Main verb එකේ past participle එක teach, taught ගන්න වෙනවා passive නිසා. Now look at this simple past passive sentence and past continuous passive sentence. Past form of the be verb is there. Be verb එකේ past form එක තියෙනවා time past කියලා පෙන්නන්න. Past participle තියෙනවා මේක passive කියලා පෙන්නන්න. So the verbs are similar. But it should not be. එහෙම වෙන්න බෑ. Because these are two different tenses. Now, let's look at again the present continuous tense. The past continuous tense. Past continuous tense. අපි past කියලා පෙන්නලා තියෙන්නේ, passive කියලා අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ past participle එක, continuous aspect එක පෙන්නන්න නම් අර කලින් කිව්වා වගේ ing form එකක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. So there must be another helping verb, that is being, being. Being. Now look at the sentences. Active voice. The teacher was teaching a grammar lesson. Teacher grammar පාඩමක් කරමින් හිටියා. Passive sentence. A grammar lesson was being taught by the teacher. ව්‍යාකරණ පාඩමක් ඉගැන්වෙමින් තිබුණා ගුරුවරයා විසින්. Those are the meanings. Now look at this sentence as well. There also, as the first step, we must identify the subject, verb and the object. And by looking at this verb, we must identify the tense. Had plus past participle means or represents the past perfect tense. So as the second step, we must take this object to the front, to the place of the subject, and the subject to the back, to the place of the object. When joining this subject here, we must use the word by. This is a past perfect sentence, active voice sentence. So by looking at this active voice sentence, we can identify the helping verb as well. අපිට helping verb එකත් identify කරගන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට options නැහැ. අපිට past කියන time එක පෙන්වන්න තියෙන්නේ had විතරයි මෙතනදී helping verb එකක් විදිහට. So we can take had here. And you must take the past participle also. Built must be here, that is the past participle of the main verb. ප්‍රධාන ක්‍රියාපදයේ past participle එකත් අවශ්‍යයි. Now we have not right. Look at these two sentences now. Look here, there is no difference. Had, built. But there should be a difference because this is in active form and this is in passive form. We have shown the time, we have shown that it is in passive, but we have not shown the perfect aspect. Perfect ආකාරය පෙන්වලා නැහැ අපි. So we must put another helping verb here. That is, to show the perfect form, we must use the past participle of the verb be. Be කියන verb එකේ past participle එක තමයි අපි ගන්නෙ. Been. Right, now let's look at the sentences. Active voice. Our kings had built monasteries. අපේ රජවරු හදලා තියනවා ආරාම. Passive voice sentence. Monasteries had been built by our kings. ආරාම සැදවිලා තිබුණා අපේ රජවරු විසින්. හදලා තිබුණා සැදවිලා තිබුණා. හදලා තිබුණා හැදවිලා තිබුණා. Active and passive. Now students, look at this chart. I told you previously, you must have a clear knowledge on tenses or the active voice before studying this passive voice. I have put here only the verbs because we identify the tense by looking at the verb. අපි verb එක බලලා තමයි tense එක identify කරගන්නේ. And for active voice, let's look at these two tenses. These two simple tenses. Simple present and the simple past. For as the active voice verb, we can take the verb's root with the plural subjects and we can take the S form of the verb with the singular subject. And here for the simple past, we have a past form of the verb. Now look at these passive voice and verb structures. For simple present, we use am, is, are as the helping verb. For the simple past, we use was or were as the helping verbs. present බව පෙන්වන්න තමයි am is are පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. past බව පෙන්වන්න තමයි was verb පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. මේ be verb එකේ be කියන verb එකේ present tense and the past tense. And we must write or use the past participle of the main verb. ප්‍රධාන ක්‍රියාපදේ past participle එකත් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා tense එක පෙන්වන්න voice එක passive voice කියලා පෙන්වන්න ගියාම. Now let's look at this continuous aspects. These are parallel, that is why I compare these. Now present continuous and past continuous are going to be compared. Here for active voice, for the present continuous we use am, is, are plus present participle or the ing form. For past continuous we use was verb plus the present participle or the ing form. Right. When forming the passive, we have the same helping verbs am, is, so, are. Here for past, was verb. These helping verbs show the time. කාලය present කියලා පෙන්වන්නේ am, is, are වලින්, was verb වලින් past කියලායි පෙන්වන්නේ. So, because we are forming the passive voice verb, we must add the past participle. අපි past participle එක of the main verb ප්‍රධාන verb එකේ අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. After that, to show the aspect, continuous කියන ස්වරූපය පෙන්වන්න අපිට ing form එකක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අනිවාර්ය පදයක් විදිහට helping verb එකක් විදිහට being අපි එකතු කරා. Now, let's look at the last two tenses, present perfect and the past perfect. Here for active voice, has or have plus the past participle. For the active voice, past perfect, had plus past participle. Right. When forming the passive voice, we must use the same helping verbs to show the tense. Show the time. Time එක පෙන්වන්න මේ අපිට ලබා දීලා active voice sentence එකේ හම්බ වෙන helping verbs ම පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. past වලට නම් ගැටලුවක් ඇත්තෙම නැහැ. had කියලා එකම එක word එකයි verb එකයි විතරක් තියෙන්නේ helping verb එකට. Then because these verbs are in the passive form, you must add the past participle of the main verb. And to show the aspect, කාලය පෙන්නුවා, passive කියලා පෙන්නුවා, මේ perfect බව aspect එක ස්වරූපය perfect කියලා පෙන්වන්න නම් අපට past participle, look at these active voice verb structures, has or have plus past participle, had plus past participle. So you must put another helping verb that must be in the past participle. Past participle එකේ ඉන්න helping verb එකක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. So we have only BEEN, being. If you compare these things and study this chart well, it is very easier to make passive voice sentences or to change active voice into passive or passive into active. So study this chart. And we did not discuss the fourth two tenses here. හැම tense එකකටම tense 4 ගානේ tenses 8ක් තියෙන්නේ passive present form එකටයි past form එකටයි. මේ හැම එකකම 4 වෙනි tense එක present perfect continuous tense එක. For past tense it is past perfect continuous. මේ ආකාරය අපි ඩිස්කස් කරේ නැහැ. This is very rare. මේක හරි දුර්ලභයි. ඒ නිසා අපි ඒ ගැන ඩිස්කස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙනම් අපි passive voice හදන්න යන්නේ simple present and past, present continuous, past continuous, present perfect, past perfect වලට. Past perfect continuous, present perfect continuous ගැන අපි සලකලා බලන්නේ නැහැ. Right. Now we have some more tenses, two future tenses and some other models and some other sentence structures. Let's learn them with another session. Till then, goodbye.